Hey everybody, gonna be doing my impressions and thoughts on the Benchmade 940 today. In comparison, I have a pink Delica 4 out for some size comparison here. I also have a um, K-Bar Dozier large here in frame, and of course the knife that I'm going to be reviewing here, the Benchmade 940. As always, going to be going over some specs here. The overall length of this knife is 7.87 inches. The blade length is very long for the size of this, 3.4 inches. Blade thickness is 0.115 inches, and the close length of this is 4.47 inches, and at a very modest weight of 2.9 ounces. So very light for what you have in this knife. It does have S30V steel, and it basically is a full flat grind. As soon as this secondary bevel line here ends, it's a full flat all the way down. As you can see here, it has a reverse tonto at the tip for some extra strength and also piercing. And there's dual swedges. There's swedges on both sides of the knife. So pretty interesting looking knife. It uses double thumb studs, as you can see, like most Benchmade knives use. It does feature the axis lock. Um, some very false jimping that doesn't work. There's also that on the bottom, jimping that doesn't work. This knife has like semi-liners. You can kind of see on the inside where the axis lock is. There's some metal there, but they don't go all the way through. It's actually aluminum handles with a green coating. It has a pocket clip for tip-up carry only, and it's right or left carry. So you can carry this tip up, left or right hand. Uses torque screw construction. Or I take that, yeah, torque screw construction all the way through. It's a total of 5 screws here, one for the pivot, and then you can see 3 here in the middle and 1 at the end. And then for the pocket clip, it's got 3 torque screws to move it. Holds very nice. It's a very thin knife, so you put it in your pocket, you kind of forget about it. The axis lock on this thing is insanely quick. I mean, it just flies open and closes open. That's one thing. It's just it hold the axis lock down and this blade just swings really loose. So you got to be careful. I've never nicked myself with a Benchmade knife before until this knife. At work, I typically cut things pretty quick because I do work oftentimes in front of people where I'm visible by people. So when I take my knife out, I try to cut whatever I need to cut real quick and then just throw it down. But because of that blade just swinging down so quick, you got to really make sure your fingers are out of the way. Um, Basically what happened was I didn't have my fingers back like this, so when I hit the axis lock, the blade swings down super fast, like a guillotine, and the time that I did it, that's where my pinky was, right in the way of the blade, so that blade came slamming down right onto the tip of my pinky. Luckily it wasn't too bad. It was a minor flesh wound, but I did have a nice gash in my pinky when that did happen, so definitely don't underestimate how loose and quick this thing falls down, so you gotta be kind of careful with that. Blade on this is very sharp. I got it sharp out of the box. Some of my other Benchmates were not as sharp, more dull. This one, on the other hand, is quite a cutter, and I've talked about it before. The way that if you hold the handle straight, you can see that the knife itself is angled down. So the way it holds and the way it cuts, it's more natural. So holding your hand straight out, the blade has a downward curvature, giving you more cutting force. And I talked about this on the Rift as well. If you hold it in your hand, I can feel the whole pocket knife to the back, the handle, and have my thumb comfortably straight out. And if I want to choke up on it, there's no choil. I mean, there's this little finger group here to keep your fingers in, but there's no ramp or anything. But because Benchmade kind of flattens out the blade on top, I honestly don't know if this is intentional or not, but I mean, I work with it. I can scoop my fingers up. You see, you have space in the back now, and I'm choking up all the way to the front, and I can rest my thumb on the flat top of that surface there. So if I want to make closer cuts, I can choke up like this to make more intricate cuts or whatnot. This thing pierces great. Piercing through and then cutting down works very well because of that reverse tonto. and the blade is relatively thin, so that's nice. I have not sharpened this knife yet, and it is still pretty sharp. Um, just real quick, show you in size comparison as far as they're similar in size. Um, this is in comparison to a Delica. It seems much longer. It is a lot longer. But if you look at the handles are just about the same size. The 940 is not too much longer, but yet how much blade the 940 packs into it. As you can see here on the blade, the actual cutting edge, the Benchmade 940 is much longer. And that's just due to like how much blade they fit in the handle. The blade tip almost goes to the very end of the knife. There's just a little bit where the blade isn't touching. As you can see right when it comes out, they don't waste any space in the handle. So it packs a ton of blade in here. And that's another interesting thing I brought up. The K-bar dozier I think of as a really big knife, but when it comes down to it, it's really the handle that's so big. I can hold the handle back here, the 4-finger grip, and I have that much handle left. So it's almost 2 hands worth. So choking up on this, I got a ton of handle in the back, and the blade is actually not too big. I really do like this knife though. It's extremely thick and beefy, and the thing cuts, but just interesting as far as the knife to handle ratio is so vast. You can see here, I'll show you the 940. The 940's handle is much shorter than that of the K-bar dozier, yet the blade length, cutting edge on the 940 is actually a little bit longer than that of the dozier. Let's try to bring that up closer for you guys. If you see the cutting edges matching them up, the 940 actually out lengthens the large K-bar dozier. So that's kind of interesting, just how different knife makers choose to choose lengths and stuff. So for the handle to knife ratio, you got a smaller handle in the 940, yet you got quite a bit more cutting edge on the blade than that of the large K-bar dozier. So that's just something kind of cool with the 940. It's just how much they pack into this small little package. I'm going to show you a little bit of cutting here just to show you how well it kind of pierces and whatnot. So with that nice Tonto edge, I can just push through and slice out, and it cuts very nicely. I have not sharpened this at all since I've gotten it, and the edge is holding up really good. S30B, I really don't expect less. But I mean, some people feel there's a difference between Spyderco's CPM S30B and Benchmade's S30B. I have not had to sharpen it yet, but as far as edge retention, I feel it's up there. The one thing I do notice though is I prefer Spyderco's edge angles. If you can see on here, the relief edge is very small, and pretty much any Spyderco you get has a much wider relief edge. So I feel that makes for a better slicer. It starts cuts easier and better than a shallower, or I guess steeper, I'm not sure what word to use for that, the smaller relief edge of that Benchmade's. Although, like I showed you here, I mean, it still cuts well, but I do prefer the steeper edge of Spyderco relief edges. That's just cutting up some envelope. Here's a wooden box. Let's see. If I can just cut this tab off for you guys. A little bit difficult there at the end, but that could have been the cardboard. As you can see, very clean cut. There's no like tears or anything. So the 940 is very sharp. It is very capable. I do feel though, if it had a little bit of longer of a relief edge, it would definitely slice that much better. But I mean, overall, this is just a fantastic knife. I really like it. It's light. It's ridiculously fast. There's a couple ways I've opened these Benchmade knives. With this one in particular, because it's so light and the blade comes out so easy, and it is like pretty smooth. I can just rest my thumb directly on top of the thumb stud and just put pressure and flick out to open it. on the 710, due to its heavier nature and more pressure from the axis lock, I have to dig my thumb underneath the thumb stud to flick out, which works just as well with this one, but because this one's so light, I can just rest it right on top rather than digging my nail underneath. So I can just go uh, like that to flick it out. Overall, just very comfortable knife, and yeah, it's really good. So if you're interested in the 940, it's about 130 bucks. You can find it cheaper, possibly on the forums, or roughly the same price. But if you're looking in the market for this type of knife, I think you'd really like it. Alright guys, take it easy.